I'm live. Hi, everyone. I am late again because I had this wonderful bean casserole that I made with my own beans from my own garden. And I've had it the last couple of nights. And right after I get done eating it, it's just like, so I've had a little nap, feeling quite refreshed. Let's read now. We are reading Michael Savage's book, God, Faith, and Reason. And as I told you yesterday, his story number 49, Rabbi in a Brothel, a Fable, is quite kind of lengthy. So I don't know if I'll read anything beyond that today, but we're going to read that today. And he starts with Leviticus 19, verse 18. Thou shalt not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Rabbi in a Brothel, a Fable. Okay, so this is fake, It's not meant to imitate anybody's life. Either become a rabbi or open a brothel in Borneo, I told my wife. That's what my choices are. I had reached the ultimate cul-de-sac in my misbegotten existence. Staying on this road is decay, disease, and death. Straight ahead, I'd rather become a rabbi or open a brothel. I agree with you totally, she replied. Both would be closer to God than this. Wow! I'd move into the rental house, work part-time, and go to grad school somewhere in the area. Well, as the old beatniks used to say, at least my manuscripts and other stuff would all be in one place. Our situation was well beyond retrofit beatnik. We owned 2 modest houses in Marin County, California, but were renting and living in a third, in a better neighborhood on the water, with a dock. The dock had stood empty for almost a year. We had sold the boat after an accident. A Chinese fortune teller had predicted it, but we had taken his prescience as you would a fortune cookie, basing his predictions on complex ancient Chinese books with geometric charts. Lin Yu Tang would write out your coming year on a monthly basis in brief capsules such as February, friend or partner with company, house energy week. April, working very hard, watch out and avoid conflict with wife. The previous year he had warned me. December, money out for parents' health. East of the seminary in Cleveland or west of Borneo of dark images in Conradian relief, a rickety bamboo structure on a river, bar girls, fans, flickering reminiscences of Cobra gunships, of Charlie, if not love, maybe satisfaction born of an atypical end for a boy from the Bronx. Okay. I packed my mental sea bag and drove over the gate, still sighing at the sight of the sharp cliffs, the bay churning as it fought the incoming sea, the Farallones beyond. I was heading for the Union Hall to ship out, in my case, the booking agent for the Royal Viking Line. I had an open invitation to travel first class on any of their ships in any port I asked at any time. My pay? Lectures, and my rare color slides of the South Pacific Islands taken on my travels since 1968. I'd sailed on each of the company's beautiful liners many times. I had won the hearts of the old cardiac and cancer crowd while managing to please the Norwegian captains and Swedish and Finnish stewardesses with my insights, not into investments, but into medicinal botanicals in the islands. There he goes again with his doctorate in herbal medicine. He that breatheth forth truth uttereth righteousness, but a false witness, deceit. That's Proverbs 12, verse 17. I'd climbed Rain Mountain on western Samoa, and been photographed lying adjacent to Robert Louis Stevenson's tomb, only my head jutting from the cement. I'd kissed Paul Gauguin's grave in the Marquesas, drinking a $300 bottle of red Bordeaux alone that night, listening to the long breaking surf rolling onto the reefless island, all the way from the nearest continent 5,000 miles distant. I'd had my testicles held in an assessing way by wild mountain warriors in New Guinea who still behaved according to the original meaning of testament. Okay, I'll pass on that one. I don't have testicles. I don't even want them holding my husband's. As he spoke, they held your balls, feeling the resonance or lack thereof to judge your honesty. Okay. That's the most ridiculous, funniest thing I've read all day today. Note to self, file somewhere. Do not ever travel to New Guinea, especially not with Don. Poor guy. And in the Cook Islands, a break in the outlying reef in the middle of a storm meant just clearing the razor-like coral on a small wooden boat. Getting stuck there after our 54-foot cutter had been sunk by an accidental blow from a passing sub. Oh, minor thing. I remember sitting for weeks on that little atoll pondering William Marston's grave. Marston was an English mariner who settled on Palmerston Island, had 4 wives, and fathered 23 children whose descendants now took care of me, sweet inbreds. These violating the predictions of geneticists and royal watchers. Yeah, I'd seen some adventure without thieving or killing. I'm an anomaly of the last years of the millennium, I know, but real. I'd left New York for Honolulu in 1968 and now missed my relatives, living and dead, who were more real to me than a serrated black and white photo, but unreachable in their time and conditions. Each ossified by life thought of me, if ever, as a friendly black sheep who had jumped the family fence never to return. Ah, yes, I would never long for New York that way, but I have no ties that bind me there. Always good for a chuckle was old Bob, who was always available anytime, day or night, for a mooch, a free beer or plate of food, but mainly to shoot the breeze. It was usually me talking rapid-fire New Yorkese, and he responding in his slow East Bay self-taught way. Well, a man who'd go to sea for fun, go to hell for a pastime, said the quartermaster, drinking his gin, said Bob, quoting a Lowry after I told him of my plan to ship out as a lecturer to some ports, any ports, for a few weeks. Bob, I said, Bob, I can't take it anymore. I have impulses I'm afraid of, to hurt myself and others. My mind's abuzz with scores of vengeful thoughts towards everyone I know and ever knew. Again, he threw a quote at me. Who knows what delicate wonders have disappeared from the world for want of the will to survive? Cut the crap, Bob. You've been reading too many cheap novels in that room of yours. Oh, he's in a bad mood. Proverbs 29, verse 23. A man's pride shall bring him low, but he that is of a lowly spirit shall attain to honor. Pride goeth before the fall. No, not a novel from Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, Bob replied. Are you kidding? I said, I thought you never watched TV in your life. I heard it from Peter, the cook over at Tong Kiang. Bob answered, a great mind that, Peter, I replied, sarcasm straightening my twisted mouth. I looked up to salute the human vision and courage it had taken to throw this span across the bay as I sped under the North Tower. The familiar dull orange girders were brushed by light fog, giving me a clear shot at the tower lights. Images rolled through my mind of past cruises to the southern hemisphere. I could see the blue Nordic eyes of the German captain as he paced the deck, his unshaven face in a grimace of doubt, looking mad. He surprised me in only an undershirt and unshaven that dawn as I awoke in a particularly hard roll, my far forward cabin taking a pounding that sounded like sledgehammers against the steel plate that separated me and my sleeping family from the Tonga Trench 6,000 miles down. The captain stared at me on the deck with half mad eyes, bellowing and pleading. Lecturer all the time. Tahiti to Fiji, Fiji to Tahiti, Tahiti to Fiji, Fiji to Tahiti. His Saxon English, a perfect cadence for the boredom of this cruise. A fixed back and forth cruise for a man longing to be free to sail the high seas for the asylum bound. I'm sure, but poor Captain I swear it, didn't quite take that desperate route. His name is Aye, Captain I. After that storm subsided, he must have accepted his tame lot because I saw him that night at dinner, all cleaned up and immaculate, personifying the German sea captain. Hitting the brakes, I almost swerved into the guardrail to avoid careening across the roadway. Another bay airhead cutting me off from the right hand lane and now pretending she didn't do a thing by staring dead straight ahead. I'll speed up now. There. Good. F you. That's what it says. F blank blank you rotten jerk. You like to cut people off? Here. How'd you like to swim to San Francisco? Okay, calming down. In the slow moving traffic now, my thoughts returned to the sea. Once, when our ship docked in Recife, I took a small group of more adventurous passengers into the jungle to show them medicinal plants firsthand. This one cures headaches, that one ulcers, memory is enhanced with this, and so on. One particularly grating skeptic kept lecturing me. Even if these plants do work, how do you know it's not all psychological? With a putz like him, no amount of scientific references would be convincing. Here, let me show you something. I began to climb a huge hardwood tree while continuing to talk to the shrinking group below. You see this vine, I shouted, if you take the sap and put it in an arrow and shoot a monkey high up on a tree. Gasps of liberal horror. The monkey will fall from the tree into the hands of the hungry hunter below. I continued to climb to find a particularly beautiful flowering sample of the curare vine. So, shouted the putz, what's the point? This vine contains the drug curare. It's a muscle relaxant. It makes any animal lose its grip. Monkey, man, New Yorker, Hoosier, priest, dancer, cardiac patient, get it? I bellowed. No matter who you are, the curare will have the same effect on your muscles. It's not at all in your head. It's biological, physiological. Wait, I'll be down in a minute to show you. Pulling myself up a few more feet, I was through the dense canopy of the tree. In a blink, as in a fantasy, I was on solid ground. A pack of dogs came running at me. I froze. There was a glacial-like pool of clear blue water, and from beyond it a female shouted, "Don't worry, they're harmless." The bridge cables whipped past, his eye now in their ever-ascending arc. Halfway across, he wondered just what impelled him on. In those reveries just past, he realized that in those previous trips to the islands, he had very much been running toward goals. Now he would be, in fact, was running from all that California, or at least the Bay Area, had become, from all that the world, according to the synods, had become. ABC plus CBS, NBC plus CNN equals HATEFUL, hateful, hateful. From all that rotting, sick deviates had made in their own image. A city built on Judeo-Christian values, on Italian and Irish Catholic virtues, on Jewish business acumen, Chinese labor and investments. All this beauty had been stalled by a whore. Where once there was genuine pride, the pride of genuine accomplishment, there now was hawked in its place all the false pride of the progressives and then some. The false pride of being a pervert. Remember what he said that the people did with the perverts when he was a kid in his neighborhood? And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. Oh, that's 1 Kings 19, verse 11. I remember when he was searching for the voice of the word of the Lord, and he finally heard it in the gentlest of breezes. The false pride of civil rights lawsuits, the false pride of first birthing and then laying the blame for some epidemics on innocent bystanders, the false pride of superior culture, the false pride of calumny in the arts, literature, academia, wherever the perverts reigned, the false pride of sexual freedom marked by the clanking of chains. I will agree with him there. They were calling it creative genius. That's part of the reasons why I stopped watching television. I saw it as propaganda, brainwashing, trying to break my good, solid religious training of what's right and what's wrong. And I couldn't take it anymore. To this day, I don't watch TV, and Donna always is teasing me about it. Sometimes I get angry, but I don't say anything. Yes, it had become a time of falseness. Falseness. A time to cry, a time to weep, a time to leap, a time to run. Oh, time is the great sorter of experience. That's what Lin Yu Tang, his fortune teller, had last sent him. Time is the great sorter of experience. From nowhere came that anagram. Would time give him the perspective needed to sort these emotions, to separate his own condition in time from that of the city in which he lived? Had the forces of present tense communication made him a direct emblem of his city, of his country, of his time, without a moment any more to dwell on the past, neither his own nor the historical realities of anything? It seemed just the newspapers. 36 television channels, mindless news updates on the car radio. He had become a point in time. The recipient of bad forebodings, of riots and crashes and fires and streams of racial beatings not seen nor heard since Hitler's Germany. Oh, how this poor running rabbi needed the sanctity of an honest brothel. He had to run or else was falling into madness, the madness of a John Wilkes Booth, whose self realized cowardice became blamed on just one man, the one who had taken credit for freeing the slaves, whom Booth had marked for death. Should he stay, he might focus on the loudest of them now, strutting about city chambers, and only God knew where that might lead. He was hurt by God, so he will become a priest, was the saying he grew up on. His younger brother, born a cripple, was supposed to become a holy man, but had died at age 7. So he, his older brother, had felt obligated to fulfill his poor brother's calling. But how? There it is again. Trying to live feeling guilty and trying to live what he thought was his other brother's life. Can't live two lives. With the impulses of a not so ordinary man and the personality of a born tyrant, our bridge traveler to nowhere had no intention of spending his life dressed in black. But could he not climb a tree so high and see so far as to bring back to earth for all to see God's vision for a perfect self? Could he not somehow fulfill his brother's lost lot in other than a formal priestly way, by rescuing healing plants, for example? Oh, how impossible this quest of the alternate priest became, to prove to God, if not to man, that you worshipped him, but in your own way, to do so without edifice or pageant, to sing his praises in silence, to bow down to him without moving, to follow his commandments without following them. Had our running priest become a Buddhist? The Messiah is here, proclaimed the flyers, and now it seemed his religious Jewish friends of the Lubavitcher sect had all gone mad. Souls that once years before sheltered him, saved him from madness, from suicide or homicide, but now they too, it seemed, needed saving. Collective insanity, he had thought, when first he saw their announcements. To not only cry out for the coming in Jewish eyes, but to publish a date, and then, when the day had passed, drop all references to the chosen one. Gender, God, and reality, heavy stuff to balance on a bridge. That's always been a problem of human beings. They are not content to leave to God God's business. And it's none of your business. It's not your business. It's God's business. Be content. Leave it there. I'm sure he's capable. Sometimes it's so hard. And God even beckons us. Lay our problems down. Lay them down. You just rest in me. Don't worry about those problems. A horn warned the fog. A ship slipped the gate. Images of Bob and his generation looking forward to the shore crossed his mind. I'm on a bus going to Fort Cronkite. It comes to the end of the line. The driver says, "Everybody off the bus." I sit still. "Okay, off the bus." I ain't getting off, I tell him. It's too windy on the beach. Too windy even for an old salt? For in June in San Francisco, we're having August weather, but worse. The product of Saddam's oil fires last year. Vectors of winds out of control, the Muslim winds again. For in just 100 years, remembering our cunning Arab cousins took an unknown local cult of the book and swept 2/3 of the world. He gets out of his driver's seat. He comes to the back of the bus where I'm sitting next to two old ladies. "Look," he says, "you got to get off the bus." I ain't going. He got a half-shaved head, an earring, 3 rings on each finger, and he's a bus driver. One word leads to another. "Listen, I'm going to smoke, and you've got to get off the bus." Well, I told him, it's illegal. Get off the bus and smoke with the rest of the numbskulls. I'm not getting off in this wind. Wind has him. Screws everybody's mind. Ions, blows, pollen, mites, viroids into people's minds. Sweeps protective colors from the skin. Upraises particles unseen, stripping people. I don't like the wind either. Wind is death, according to the Japanese. Wind, the Russian thinks it brings illness, as do the Chinese. Not a race on earth welcomes it, yet wind is the great pollinator without which all screws itself. That's true. Wind, the world itself upsets. So Bob stays on the bus with the 2 old ladies, one asking the other, "What did he say?" Not comprehending the bus driver or seeing his earring or shaved head or attitude. The hostile driver smokes a cigarette. Was that so hard? Just leave him on the bus and go smoke your cigarette? But the fog was wafting strong now in the middle of the bridge. Bob sat firm in his triumph over one little vandal. It was his most recent battle against evil, one that had begun on the mean streets of East Oakland and led through Guadalcanal. I fought my own battles against evil, becoming myself one who, as I often jested, had had to learn to lie, cheat, and steal. Or was it beg, borrow, and steal to survive? My mom would say it was beg, rob, no, steal from Paul to pay Peter, something like that. Rob from Peter to pay Paul. Despite all my advanced degrees, my many published and unpublished books, and my obvious verbal talents, society hid its reward from me. The Vandals had broken through the gates of academia, journalism, publishing, medicine, law, and government, and in their 38-year reign, they had created an old Vandals network not seen in America since the bureaucratic tyrannies of the early part of this century, more like the current social order in Sicily, where neither talent nor education counted, or the recent experience in Eastern Europe. That's our Miss Ellie. Do you want to come have a little visit? Oh my goodness. She's been kind of restless. Come on. Come here. Oh. I know what she needs. She needs to go potty. You can just wait. Come here. Ellie, come here. Oh boy. Hey, get over here. Oh, yeah. There she goes. I only have a couple pages, and then I'm obviously going to let a dog out to go potty. Could the warnings and exhortations of Job compare with Disney? Could Jeremiah compete with the evening news? Look what the Times had become. One power-mad psychopath after another paraded throughout with all the detail of his or her personal wealth displayed so as to render the moderately successful reader impotent and hopeless by the time the sports page was reached. Could this epic of the Salzburgers be compared with Ecclesiastes? No, of course not. Which is why the original book of the Jews was now read only by illiterate fools, who by circumstance or genetic dysfunction believed the words had been dictated from heaven and inscribed in stone. Probably a collection of constipated poets, failed jewel hustlers, bankrupt sandal makers, whoremongers past their prime, child molesters, animal torturers, and other biblical age riffraff. Thought the bridge driver as he now approached the South Tower nearing the toll booths into the city. He glanced at the tiny fortune cookie fortune scotch taped to the dashboard of his old two-door Bronco. You are an angel, beware of those who collect feathers. By now, it's a private comedy. I'm no angel, but I've lost most of my feathers, mostly trying to fly, he mused. Every time I've been given a chance, I could soar like an eagle. It's been the trying to fly where the real losers live, those failed writers who became agents, now all menopausal and ready to give to the UJA after years supporting the PLO, those tight-lipped WASP academics whose guilt made them hire the Jews after the Holocaust, the academic Jews who chose to exile any hint of rebellion in their Jewish male descendants, welcoming instead the women and other minorities they thought they could bamboozle. And bamboozle they did, running every racket known to the mafia within the halls of academia, encouraging all the while the debate over affirmative action so they could continue their plundering unnecessary research funds, conducting excessive animal experimentation, molesting their young students, holding grandiose conferences modeled on the tools of those governmental bureaucrats they did business with. Look what the universities have become, he thought. Plunderer of graduate students, discoveries, and labor, plunderer of all lost ideals everywhere and in all times since Abraham tried to slay Isaac but was saved by a counter hallucination, a generation of incompetents not seen in the history of the Republic, incompetents who had created their own fields of study to justify their lack of productive scholarship in the real fields of learning. Those fertile fields which blossomed with a flora so vibrant and diverse, now reduced in size and offering to women's studies, black studies, Chicano studies, lesbian studies, gay studies, trans studies, all non-sciences created by jingoists with tenure desperate for attention and respect. Leo Tolstoy wrote somewhere that those who believe their religion is greater than God will believe that their sect is greater than their religion and end up believing that they are greater than their sect. On and on it went as he drove over the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, that's where it ends, and that's where we're going to end tonight because I have a dog that has to go potty. But I think our Michael is becoming a little restless, and we are getting near the end of the book. I sure hope it has a happy ending. I suppose if you lived in San Francisco where all of those progressive ideals are so aggressively pursued and forced upon you, you would get almost psychotic and hop on a bus and then just ride it till it stopped, refuse to get off, and then ride it back just for a moment of sanity away from it all. And all this women studies, black studies, Chicano studies, lesbians, gays, to me lately, that just strikes me as not being sensitive to special needs, as more dividing everybody into specific groups. I don't think that's what we're supposed to do. That's where I'm going to end it. Okay. God bless you. I love you all. Haven't heard anything about Jim yet. We're still praying for him and that dear little sweet baby girl that we're praying for on my Facebook channel, Addie. I will never be able to eat strawberry ice cream without thinking about Addie. What's your favorite ice cream? Pink. Sweet little voice. All right. Bye. God bless you. I love ya.